people asked me what free speech constitutes in the United States of America. And that's a really good question, because the Constitution protects Americans' free speech. But what does that mean? It actually protects free speech, not in the Constitution, the first part of the Constitution, the part that was signed, not ratified, but signed on September 17th. When they wrote the Constitution, but in the first of the 10 amendments to the Constitution, which are what we know as the Bill of Rights. And the first of those is the First Amendment. And you hear people, which seems like a no brainer. I meant that differently than it came out, but that people often refer to because it's the First Amendment that protects freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and the right to petition the government. Because remember, the King of England, King George III, refused to accept the olive branch petition. He refused to let it be delivered, and that was a really big deal in the United States, both at the beginning and then in the 1830s and the 1840s. That's a different story I won't go into now. But we do have the right to ask our government things. They don't have to say yes, but we have the right to ask. So what does that mean? One of the things that a lot of people get confused about with the Bill of Rights is, especially in the modern era, often people look at what's in the Bill of Rights and think that those rights were designed to protect an individual's right, that is, a person's right. But in fact, they weren't. If you read them and you look at them, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, hold back the government. They say the government can't do these things. It doesn't say that you have that right. It says the government does not have that right. So when I think of the Bill of Rights, that's literally how I think about it. I think about it pushing back and holding back the government, which is why Antonin Scalia's decision, Heller decision in 2008 was such a major change when it actually looked at the Second Amendment and said that gives an individual a right. That's not how people have ever understood those first 10 amendments. All right, so to go back to the freedom of the press, the First Amendment prohibits the government from messing around with your religious rights, the free press, the right to speech, free speech, the right to assemble, or the right to petition the government. So often people think that the freedom of speech gives you the right to say anything you want in any context because we have that, and it doesn't. What the freedom of speech does is it says the government can't silence you. Other people can silence you. You can't, there are many situations in which you can't express yourself the way you might want to in a different setting. That's different than what's covered by the First Amendment. And there's been a whole bunch of laws and court cases since then defining what can be stopped and what can't be stopped. But free speech, as is protected under the First Amendment, says the government can't stop you from speaking. But other people can. And that, I get that every single day. People saying, you have no right to shut me up. I'm allowed to say anything I want. It's like, actually, no. I'm not a member of the government, so I don't have to listen to what you're throwing at me. If I were an elected official, I couldn't do that. But which is interesting. Well, that's a rabbit hole I won't go into.